Before she became a legend, she was forgotten, overlooked, unwanted. They said she'd never survive. But what she did changed lives and history, and it all began with a simple train ride to nowhere. She stood barely 5 feet tall. She had no money, no connections, not even a degree. She worked as a maid in London, cleaning up after people who never bothered to learn her name or even make eye contact. But she had something else, a stubborn kind of courage, the kind that doesn't ask permission. In 1930, she applied to join the China Inland Mission, a group that trained and sent missionaries overseas. They told her, "You're not qualified, too old, not strong enough." Rejected, dismissed, forgotten. So she did something remarkable. She saved her pennies, every coin from her servant's wages, until she had just enough. She didn't want to impress anyone. She believed she had a calling, to help, to serve, and to love a people she'd never met. But what no one knew was what she packed in her suitcase. She bought a one-way train ticket from London to China. It would take her across Europe, through Soviet Russia, into Manchuria, and finally to a tiny town in northern China. Alone, no guide, stranded in Vladivostok, caught in a riot, almost deported. She smuggled herself across borders, her only companion, an unshakable sense of purpose. She carried a bedroll, a kettle, and a heart that simply would not quit. She made it to her destination. But the real mission, it hadn't even started. In Yangcheng, she started small, working as a servant for an older missionary, days filled with chores. But her evenings were spent caring for orphans and captivating travelers at the local inn with stories of hope and a different kind of love. Then something unusual happened. The local authorities asked her to help stop an ancient practice, foot binding, a painful, brutal tradition that crushed young girls' feet to fit a beauty ideal. She walked from village to village, educating mothers and daughters, reporting those still practicing it, replacing cruelty with compassion. Soon, a mandarin, a high-ranking official, called for her. Not for preaching, for judgment. He trusted her with civic disputes, child welfare, justice. She, a poor British maid with no formal education, became a trusted advisor to one of the most powerful men in the province. She built schools, quietly, places where girls could learn instead of suffer, where children could dream. She never asked for credit, but she earned it. And then, the war came. The Japanese army advanced. It was the Second Sino-Japanese War. Bombings, massacres, fear, towns burned, people fled. She took in children, first a few, then more. Orphans, refugees, abandoned souls. They weren't handed to her. She found them along roadsides, in burnt villages, alone. They didn't come with names or paperwork. They came barefoot, hungry, crying. She didn't just take them in. She went out and found them. She became their protector. And when it became too dangerous to stay, she made a decision. She would lead them to safety. They walked for 12 days across war-torn mountains from Yangcheng to Xi'an. No army, no transport, just faith. Some were too young to remember their parents, some too small to walk. And just when they reached the edge of freedom, one final challenge would test everything she believed. One final hill, one last frozen ridge to cross. She was sick, exhausted, malnourished. She collapsed more than once, but she would not give up. A small boy whispered, "Will we die today?" She smiled, she sang, and they kept walking. She answered him with a smile that, for that little boy, was enough. But for history, it held a deeper, almost unbelievable reason. Because then, a Chinese nationalist army officer appeared with a boat. He had been sent to the area. Seeing their plight, he offered to ferry them across the river. The timing, the circumstances, improbable, almost impossible. Many believed it was a direct answer to prayer. Her name was Gladys Aylward, the woman they called unfit, saved over 100 children. She turned down fame, turned down fortune. Hollywood called. Ingrid Bergman played her in a film, but Gladys refused to consult. Why? Because the movie got it wrong. It made her into something glamorous. She wasn't glamorous. She was faithful. She wasn't polished. She was present. She died quietly in Taiwan, still caring for children. And the children she once led through war, many became doctors, teachers, parents. Her legacy wasn't carved into monuments. It was etched into lives. She didn't preach loudly. She didn't boast. She just burned quietly, faithfully, fiercely. Some people shine because they want to be seen, but others burn. They give warmth. They give light. They give everything without ever needing to say a word. You won't see them posting about their sacrifice or marketing their virtue. They just live it. The flame doesn't boast of its warmth. It just burns. And that kind of life, that quiet kind of greatness, it still changes the world. So now, dear friends, ask yourself, who in your life has been a quiet flame? Someone who gave, not for applause, but because it was right. And what would it mean for you to live that way? No spotlight, no boast, just warmth freely given. And now you know the truth of the story.